This is the audio of The Sun, the Moon, the Stars by Juno Diaz. I'm not a bad guy. I know that sounds defensive, unscrupulous, but it's true. I'm like everybody else, weak, full of mistakes, but basically good. Magdalena disagrees though. She considers me a typical Dominican man, a sucio, an asshole. See, many months ago when Magda was still my girl, when I didn't have to be careful about almost anything, I cheated on her with this chick who had tons of 80s freestyle hair. Didn't tell Magda about it either. You know how it is, a smelly bone like that, better off buried in the backyard of your life. Magda only found out because homegirl wrote her a fucking letter. And the letter had details. Shit you wouldn't even tell your boys drunk. The thing is, that particular bit of stupidity had been over for months. Me and Magda were on an upswing. We weren't as distant as we'd been the winter I was cheating. The freeze was over. She was coming over to my place, and instead of us hanging with my knucklehead boys, me smoking, her bored out of her skull, we were seeing movies, driving out to different places to eat, even caught a play at the Crossroads, and I took her picture with some bigwig black playwrights, pictures where she's smiling so much you'd think her wide-ass mouth was going to unhinge. We were a couple again, visiting each other's families on the weekends, eating breakfast at diner hours before anybody else was up, rummaging through the New Brunswick Library together, the one Carnegie built with his guilt money. A nice rhythm we had going. But then, the letter hits like a Star Trek grenade and detonates everything. Past, present, future. Suddenly, her folks want to kill me. It doesn't matter that I helped them with their taxes 2 years running, or that I mow their lawn. Her father, who used to treat me like his hijo, calls me an asshole on the phone. Sounds like he's strangling himself with a cord. You no deserve I speak to you in Spanish, she says. I see one of Magda's girlfriends at the Woodbridge Mall. Claribel, the Ecuatoriana with the biology degree and the chinita eyes. And she treats me like I ate somebody's favorite kid. You don't even want to hear how it went down with Magda. Like a 5-train collision. She threw Cassandra's letter at me. It missed and landed under a Volvo. And then she sat down on the curb and started hyperventilating. Oh God, she wailed. Oh my God. This is when my boys claimed they would have pulled a total fucking denial. Cassandra who? I was too sick to my stomach even to try. I sat down next to her, grabbed her flailing arms and said some dumb shit like, you have to listen to me, Magda, or you won't understand. Let me tell you about Magda. She's a Brazilian original. Short, with a big mouth and big hips and dark curly hair you could lose a hand in. Her father's a baker. Her mother sells kids' clothes door to door. She might be nobody's pendeja, but she's also a forgiving soul. A Catholic. Dragged me into church every Sunday for Spanish Mass, and when one of her relatives is sick, especially the ones in Cuba, she writes letters to some nuns in Pennsylvania, asks the sisters to pray for her family. She's the nerd every librarian in town knows, a teacher whose students love her. Always cutting shit out for me from the newspapers. Dominican shit. I see her every week, and she still sends me corny little notes in the mail, so you won't forget me. You couldn't think of anybody worse to screw than Magda. Anyway, I won't bore you with what happens after she finds out. The begging, the crawling over glass, the crying. Let's just say that after 2 weeks of this, of my driving out to her house, sending her letters and calling her at all hours of the night, we put it back together. Didn't mean I ever ate with her family again, or that her girlfriends were celebrating. Those cabronas were like, no, jamás, never. Even Magda wasn't too hot on the rapprochement at first. But I had the momentum of past on my side. When she asked me, why don't you leave me alone, I told her the truth. It's because I love you, Mommy. I know it sounds like a load of doo-doo, but it's true. Magda's my heart. I didn't want her to leave me. I wasn't about to start looking for a girlfriend because I'd fucked up one lousy time. Don't think this was a cakewalk, because it wasn't. Magda's stubborn. Back when we first started dating, she said she wouldn't sleep with me until we'd been together at least a month, and homegirl stuck to it. No matter how hard I tried to get in her knickknacks. She's sensitive too. Takes to hurt the way water takes to paper. You can't imagine how many times she asked, especially when we were finished fucking, were you ever going to tell me? This and why were her favorite questions. My favorite answers were, yes, and it was a stupid mistake. I wasn't thinking. We even had some conversation about Cassandra, usually in the dark, when we couldn't see each other. Magda asked me if I loved Cassandra, and I told her no, I didn't. Do you still think about her? Nope. Did you like fucking her? To be honest, baby, it was lousy. That one is never very believable, but you gotta say it anyway, no matter how stupid and unreal it sounds. Say it. And for a while, after we got back together, everything was as fine as it could be. But only for a little while. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, my Magda started turning into another Magda. Who didn't want to sleep over as much or scratch my back when I asked her to. Amazing what you notice. Like how she never used to ask me to call back when she was on the line with somebody else. I always had priority. Not anymore. So of course I blamed all that shit on her girls, who I knew for a fact were still feeding her a bad line about me. She wasn't the only one with counsel. My boys were like, fuck her. Don't sweat that bitch. But every time I tried, I couldn't pull it off. I was into Magda for real. I started working overtime on her again, but nothing seemed to pan out. Every movie we went to, every night drive we took, every time she did sleep over seemed to confirm everything negative about me. I felt like I was dying by degrees, but when I brought it up, she told me that I was being paranoid. About a month later, she started making the sorts of changes that would have alarmed a paranoid nigger. Cuts her hair, buys better makeup, rocks new clothes, goes out dancing on Friday nights with her friends. When I ask her if we can chill, I'm no longer sure it's a done deal. A lot of times she Bartleby's me. She says, no, I'd rather not. I ask her what the hell she thinks this is, and she says, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I know what she was doing, making me aware of my precarious position in her life, like I was not aware. Then it was June. Hot white clouds stranded in the sky, cars being washed down with hoses, music loud outside, everybody getting ready for summer, even us. We'd planned a trip to Santo Domingo early in the year, an anniversary present, and had to decide whether we were still going or not. It had been on the horizon a while, but I figured it was something that would resolve itself. When it didn't, I brought the tickets out and asked her, how do you feel about it? Like it's too much of a commitment. Could be worse. It's a vacation, for Christ's sake. I see it as pressure. Doesn't have to be pressure. I don't know why I get stuck on it the way I do. Bringing it up every day, trying to get her to commit. Maybe I was getting tired of the situation we were in. Wanted to flex. Wanted something to change. Or maybe I got in this idea in my head that if she said yes, we're going, then shit would be fine between us. If she said no, it's not for me, then at least I'd know it was over. Her girls, the sorest losers on the planet, advised her to take the trip and then never speak to me again. She, of course, told me this shit because she couldn't stop herself from telling me everything she was thinking. How do you feel about the suggestion? I asked her. She shrugged. It's an idea. Even my boys were like, nigger, sounds like you're wasting a whole lot of loot on some bullshit. But I really thought it would be good for us. Deep down where my boys don't know me, I'm an optimist. I thought me and her on an island, what couldn't this cure? Let me confess, I love Santo Domingo. I love coming home to the guys in blazers trying to push little cups of Brugal into my hands. Love the plane landing, everybody clapping when the wheels kiss the runway. Love the fact that I'm the only nigger on board without a Cuban link or a flapjack of makeup on my face. Love the redhead woman on her way to meet her daughter she hasn't seen in 11 years. The gift she holds in her lap like the bones of a saint. Mija has tetas now, the woman whispers to her neighbor. Last time I saw her, she could barely speak in sentences. Now she's a woman. Imagínate. I love the bags my mother packs, shit for relatives and something for Magda, a gift. You give this to her no matter what happens. If this were another kind of story, I tell you about the sea. What it looks like after it's been forced into the sky through a blowhole. How when I'm driving in from the airport and see it like this, like shredded silver, I know I'm back for real. I tell you how many poor motherfuckers there are. More albinos, more cross-eyed niggers, more tigres than you'll ever see. And I'll tell you about the traffic, the entire history of late 20th century automobiles swarming across every flat stretch of ground, a cosmology of battered cars, battered motorcycles, battered trucks, battered buses, and an equal number of repair shops, run by a fool with a wrench. I tell you about the shanties and our no running water faucets and the sambos on the billboards and the fact that my family house comes equipped with ever-reliable latrine. I tell you about my abuelo and his campo hands, how unhappy he is that I'm not sticking around, and I tell you about the street where I was born, Calle 21, how it hasn't decided yet if it wants to be a slum or not, and how it's been in this state of indecision for years. But that would make it another kind of story. And I'm having enough trouble with this one as it is. You'll have to take my word for it. Santo Domingo is Santo Domingo. Let's pretend we all know what goes on there.